Welcome to the Sheepless Life podcast. We are your hosts, Ivonne Delaflor
and Séverine Naessens, and we are the founders of the Sheepless Life Academy. Join us at sheeplesslife.com for a free and exclusive masterclass on sheepless living.
We created this podcast for women like you, who are ready and eager to live and lead without the herd mentality.
Women who are ready to be, not who your parents told you to be.
Not who the system expects you to be.
Not who the media wants you to be.
But who you can truly become.
So relax, step out of the herd for a moment,
grab something to sip on, and have a pencil at hand just in case you feel the urge to take some notes.
Let's get the show on the road.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to our podcast number 47, Sheepless Life Podcast 47. And on this side of the connection, Séverine Naessens from Cancun, Mexico, and on the other side we have the amazing Ivonne Delaflor in Vegas. Hi, Ivonne.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. Well, it's so good to connect again with you, and we're so happy that you're all tuning into this podcast. Today we're going to speak about the art of our words, how we create art constantly through our words, an amazing concept and something that we truly believe in, and also one of the teachings that Ivonne has brought to us through the Academy. So Ivonne, the floor is all yours today.
The floor of, actually, we're going to use the heaven of the mind, the ability to create, to think, the ability to use our thoughts to design the art of our life, the artistic experience of our creation. I recently did a post saying that thoughts are art. And so I love that you named the podcast this, because truly we make art, whether we like it or not, of our life with our thinking. In the Dhammapada and very ancient traditions, all the text says that we are what we think. With our thoughts, we create the world. This is in the Dhammapada, where there are the teachings of the Buddha. But when we are not aware of what we think, and when we take for granted the power of our thoughts, obviously we will end up experiencing art or situations in our life that we won't like. Mm-hmm. We will blame others. This is the culprit of blame. The inability for us to take ownership of our thoughts, of the creative power of our thinking, will have us blame other circumstances, our parents, our family, the system, the weather, for the situations that we cannot see how we created them, attracted, or co-created. Every single experience in our life, imagining that life is a canvas of experience, is created literally by our thoughts, by our actions, and our words. And thoughts being creative power. Let's say that they are the color, the brush, and the tools of the artist to design and to paint the canvas of his existence. If we don't master them, we won't be able to take full responsibility for our creation. And Seve, you teach personal power, you teach parent talk. And one of the most important things, and I know the parent talk focuses on the power of words, but the deeper as human beings, we take responsibility for our thinking, the good, the bad, the ugly, the little, the big, all of it. We will begin to recognize ourselves as creators. Actually, one of our mutual friends, and she is a Sheepless Life student, right? Katerina Satori.
Yes.
She is in the Sheepless Life Academy. She just announced an incredible program called Sovereign Mind. And, I give a shout out to her, and I give a shout out to anyone that is committed to master their thinking. Because literally thoughts are art, and not all of the art. I don't know. You are super artistic, Seve. You appreciate good art, classical music, and not all of the art. I mean, we like it. Some things we see and we're like, what the heck was the artist thinking?
Yes.
We listen to music and it's like, what were they thinking? What were they smoking? It is the same with our thoughts. So I'm just giving a shout out to Katerina Satori. To those of you who don't know her, she's a spiritual teacher and she is a Sheepless Life student. She's part of the Sheepless Life Academy, besides being an incredible spiritual teacher and sovereignty mentor. But really the power of thoughts it's something that has been highly spoken on spirituality, Seve, but not yet fully acknowledged on the need of mastery. I mean, it's a conundrum for me that in schools, they don't teach the power of thinking.
Well,
They tell the
unfortunately-
children what to think, what
Yes.
to memorize, and what they should do. So let me hear from you, Seve. What do you think? Thoughts as art. Please, let's share. Let's make this sheeplessly fun. Let's share some of our, besides what you are going to share about what you think about this, let's share some of our most beautiful art creations, 2 of them, and 2 of the worst that we have personally created out of our thinking. What do you think of that?
Oh, Houston.
Bring it on, partner. Bring it on.
The most beautiful piece of art that I have created, I think, if you go all the way, the most beautiful piece of art that I have been able to create is my actual marriage. I think
Wow.
that
Say some more.
through positive thinking, through the power of thought, and that is, I really want to pay tribute to you here for the teachings that I received through the academy. Because as well, our listeners may not be aware, but my second marriage, I met my second husband actually when we were in week 6 of Sheetless Life 3. And if it wouldn't have been of all the teachings and of being completely conscious about my thoughts, I don't think I would have attracted him. I think that the law of attraction is something that is well spoken about. It's something that has been, let's say, almost in fashion for quite some years now. And I'm a firm believer that through our thoughts, we create the world that we live in. And through my personal thoughts, I was able to attract the man that I have by my side today. And so I think one of the most beautiful pieces of art, I would say, my marriage. And on the second one is the I would dare say homeschooling my daughter, taking that route of thought and stepping out of the traditional school system at the time was the right thing to do, even though it was quite a struggle for me personally to become also a teacher, a 4th and 5th and 6th grade teacher. It's not my specialty, so it took a lot of focus, but keeping our thoughts aligned with our goals, keeping our thoughts aligned with what the objective was of doing this has been a true blessing, because right now my daughter, it's been we've done 2 years of homeschooling already, and this is where I can see that the results are actually coming forward, and I can see my daughter blooming. I can see my daughter more self-confident. She's become proficient in English. She's doing a lot of things that if I would have stuck to the old way of thinking, I wouldn't have been able to help her paint her canvas as she is right now. And I think it's one of the things that you said earlier on. I think it's important to understand that not all art is beautiful to all of us. Not all art appeals to all of us. Not all art will be liked by all. It is a very personal thing. It's a very personal point of view of what art you like. For example, I really enjoy watching paintings from the Impressionists, being Chagall, being Van Gogh. So there's many pieces of art that I really enjoy. But then if I take my husband to that to an expo, for example, or to a museum, he won't necessarily enjoy the same paintings that I do, because our thoughts are very personal. Our rooting of our thoughts is very individual. It's very, very particular to every single one of us. So if other people don't like your thoughts, it's okay, because they do not have to like your thoughts. You have to like them. You have to be comfortable with them, and you have to be aligned with your own thoughts so that you can create the life you want, the painting that you want to make out of it. And whether other people enjoy it or not, it's you who has to enjoy your own artwork.
Well, yes, and well, I like what you share. And for me, I think that the most beautiful art is always in process. Is the choice that I made to think myself responsible of my creation. That's number one for me. And number two, it was to make the choice of thinking myself out of whatever circumstance I live out of the victim position. Always responsible for my creation, for the co-creation, for any situation that happens in my life. What does it come to teach me? What can I learn more? What do I require to say no more to, yes, more to as well? And also, what do I desire to keep creating? And so I believe that that's a piece of art that is always developing, that is always unfolding. A couple of art that I didn't like is a couple of relationships, because I build it through thoughts of expectations, and through the thoughts of expectations, the art it's like trying to make a brush stroke on cement and expecting it to be a watercolor. It's not going to be that. The more I have expectations and impose my thoughts on others, the less freedom there will be to make my life as a piece of harmonic art. And the more convoluted and the more saturated and the more dark this piece of art they will be. So literally this podcast, I want to make an invitation to everyone that is listening to be very aware of what you're thinking in the day. Because even talking about this on a podcast, when you think that thoughts are automatic, or even the process of thinking what our thoughts are, have you ever thought, what is a thought? Every moment that you are thinking, ask, why am I thinking this? Am I consciously choosing, or is it just a pattern going on in automatic? Are my answers to a new experience coming from an automatic behavior, or can I see this, think this, and experience this through different eyes? I want to remind everyone listening to the podcast that thoughts are wombs. A womb that when you set your intention to live your creation in a specific manner with your thinking, you will birth this into the world. So very quickly, a couple of mine that I didn't like, as I shared with you, was a couple of relationships. And another one, which turned out to be like very cathartic art, and then it became an incredible art, was the car accident that I lived, that I had a near-death experience. Seve, that 2 weeks before I had a near-death experience, I kept thinking, what would it be like if I had a car accident? And the reason I was thinking that was because at that time there had been many accidents in my school. And I wanted to feel what is it? What are they feeling? Oh my gosh, why is this happening? And I kept thinking and thinking, what would it be like? And at the time, I had a friend, and we went to like some governmental agency, and we walked by. Look at the power of thought, Seve. We walked by the area where a lot of people, where policemen pick up cars that have, that they've been fatal accidents, and we saw a car, and that it was totally destroyed, and it smelled so strange, and we were the curiosity of the teenager minds. And the gentleman told us, this car, there were 2 teenagers your age, and they died. And I went into the car, look at this, to imagine I do a power measure processes. That took me to the next level. I went into imagine what would they be feeling, what would their last moments would be. And I sat down in the side of the car, where eventually I had the car accident. I was in the passenger seat. So I can see how even that car accident, I was part creator of that experience at 17. I thought myself into an accident, and thank God, and thanks to my thinking and the power of the mind, I also thought myself out of it. And so I'm sharing this with the public. I hope that we can hear some feedback about this, and I hope we can hear from you. What experiences have you created? And be super honest. This requires radical honesty. And the more radical honesty you have in watching and seeing that every single experience of your mind, you actually have contributed to his experience, unless you are 2 years old or 3 years old or 4 years old. If you're an adult, which this podcast is for adults, listening to this, come to your awareness, come to your honesty, meet yourself in meditation, into actually getting naked into your own ability to take responsibility for who you are. The more you see how your thoughts create your world and the part of the responsibility you have in them, the more power you will have and the more beautiful life you will create.
Absolutely.
So
Wow.
that's
Well,
it.
thank you. Thank
Wow.
you, Ivonne, for sharing that part of the story. That's actually a part of the story I had not heard.
Never.
About the
This is a first one in the Shipless Life.
So thank you very much for sharing, for bearing your soul with us, and for sharing this, because I am most definitely sure that somebody will benefit from your sharing of this experience. And yes, I do believe that we are in a great part creators of our reality, of the art of life that we create around us. So please share with us on Instagram, on Facebook, or here on the podcast on YouTube. What are your most favorite pieces of art that you have created with your thoughts, and what are the ones that you don't really like? And give us a shout. We will be back next week for more. Thank you very much for listening. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Subscribe to this weekly podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. Share your thoughts with us on Facebook.com/Sheepless Life Academy and learn firsthand how to live a sheepless life with Ivonne and receive an exclusive in-depth masterclass at sheeplesslife.com.